Talk your shit, sir. Accountability and consistency. Tomorrow is the first Friday of March. Do you know what I did? Finished that book. Recorded this video. I'm about to sit and edit it right now. You know when it will be up. The first Friday of March. Period. Cause I ain't leaving alone. Feel like I could be on this place. We both know that we're grown. That's why I wanna know. How many drinks would it take you to leave with me? Yeah, you look good and I got money, but I don't wanna waste my time. Hi, welcome to my bubble, where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. It's that time of month. It is book club time. If you watched my last book club video, which you should have, but if you didn't, it's okay. You could always go back. Good thing about book club virtually is we can always have book club. Talk to me in the comments, duh. But if you watch my last book club video, you will have seen that for February, for Black History Month, we read, past tense, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me. Now, the quick little story behind this was freshman year of college. I don't remember if it was fall semester or spring semester. I had the same English teacher. I don't remember which semester it was. But my first English class at college, he gave us an excerpt, if you will, from the book. And we just discussed it and talked about it in class. I don't remember which section it was, but I remember saying, after reading that mini excerpt, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to read that whole book. And at the time, I've been gave up on reading. Fast forward, here we are. I'm getting back into books. I read the whole book. Sorry, I have my notes on the side because this is an official book club. Like, we have an agenda to follow. So yes, that's the title. That's the author. Thumbnail. Period. Read the blurb. Okay. The blurb or the back? I'm gonna read the blurb. Ready? I'm not ready. I'm uncomfortable. Please hold. I don't know how long I thought that position was gonna last. Anyway, we're giving MacBook vibes today because I need my phone for the video. Because the way I have been getting through / getting back into reading, I've been using Audible. For some reason, if I just read the book myself, it's gonna put me to sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep. That's why schoolwork was hard when I was younger. But me and books, it was like I either do the schoolwork or I read this book. Like, you want me to do all that schoolwork and do a book report? Not happening. But I use Audible, so instead of me reading it to you, why am I filming the book? Instead of me reading my favorite part, we let him read it because he can read it himself. The blurb. Ready? I'm talking too much. Quote, "This is your country, this is your world, this is your body, and you must find some way to live within the all of it." End quote. In a profound work that pivots from the biggest questions about American history and ideals to the most intimate concerns of a father for his son, Ta-Nehisi Coates offers a powerful new framework for understanding our nation's history and current crisis. Americans have built an empire on the idea of quote-unquote race, a falsehood that damages us all, but falls most heavily on the bodies of Black women and men. Bodies exploited through slavery and segregation, and today threatened, locked up, and murdered out of all proportion. What is it like to inhabit a Black body and find a way to live within it? And how can we all honestly reckon with this fraught history and free ourselves from the burden? Between the World and Me is Ta-Nehisi Coates' attempt to answer these questions in a letter to his adolescent son. Coates shares the story of his awakening to the truth about his place in the world through a series of revelatory experiences? Question mark? My question mark. From Howard University to Civil War battlefields, From the south side of Chicago to Paris, from his childhood home to the living rooms of mothers whose children's lives were taken as American plunder. Beautifully woven from personal narrative, reimagined history, and fresh, emotionally charged repertoire, Between the World and Me clearly illuminates the past, bracingly confronts our present, and offers a transcendent vision for a way forward. Period. That it did. That's really the best way to describe this book. Drink your water, hydrate, hold on. Hydration is key. So, in official book club fashion, we're going to answer these 5 questions. Question number 1. Were there any quotes or passages that stood out to you, and why? Yes, there is. If you have the book, open your book to pages 68. 68, that's 68 for those who didn't hear me in the back. Pages 68 to 71. It is the ending of the first section. It's not really in chapters, it's really just in 3 parts. Or maybe they're just 3 long chapters. Either way. The last part of the first chapter, I like that. I like that. But I ain't gotta read it. He gonna read it to you. The fuck?
The struggle is in your name, Samari. You were named for Samari Touré, who struggled against French colonizers for the right to his own black body. He died in captivity, but the profits of that struggle and others like it are ours, even when the object of our struggle, as is so often true, escapes our grasp. I learned this living among a people whom I would never have chosen, because the privileges of being black are not always self-evident. We are, as Derek Bell once wrote, the faces at the bottom of the well. But there really is wisdom down here, and that wisdom accounts for much of the good in my life, and my life down here accounts for you. There was also wisdom in those streets. I think now of the old rule that held that should a boy be set upon in someone else's chancy hood, his friends must stand with him, and they must all take their beating together. I now know that within this edict lay the keys to all living. None of us were promised to end the fight on our feet, fists raised to the sky. We could not control our enemy's numbers, strength, nor weaponry. Sometimes you just caught a bad one, but whether you fought or ran, you did it together, because that is the part that was in our control. What we must never do is willingly hand over our own bodies or the bodies of our friends. That was the wisdom. We knew we did not lay down the direction of the street, but despite that, we could and must fashion the way of our walk. And this is the deeper meaning of your name, that the struggle in and of itself has meaning. That wisdom is not unique to our people, but I think it has special meaning to those of us born out of mass rape, whose ancestors were carried off and divided up into policies and stocks. I have raised you to respect every human being as singular, and you must extend that same respect into the past. Slavery is not an indefinable mass of flesh. It is a particular, specific, enslaved woman, whose mind is as active as your own, whose range of feelings is as vast as your own, who prefers the way the light falls in one particular spot in the woods, who enjoys fishing where the water eddies in a nearby stream, who loves her mother in her own complicated way, thinks her sister talks too loud, has a favorite cousin, a favorite season, who excels at dressmaking and knows inside herself that she is as intelligent and capable as anyone. Slavery is the same woman born in a world that loudly proclaims its love of freedom and inscribes this love in its essential text. A world in which these same professors hold this woman a slave, hold her mother a slave, her father a slave, her daughter a slave. And when this woman peers back into the generations, all she sees is the enslaved. She can hope for more. She can imagine some future for her grandchildren. But when she dies, the world, which is really the only world she can ever know, ends. For this woman, enslavement is not a parable. It is damnation. It is the never-ending night. And the length of that night is most of our history. Never forget that we were enslaved in this country longer than we have been free. Never forget that for 250 years, black people were born into chains. Whole generations followed by more generations who knew nothing but chains. You must struggle to truly remember this past in all its nuance, error, and humanity. You must resist the common urge toward the comforting narrative of divine law, toward fairy tales that imply some irrepressible justice. The enslaved were not bricks in your road, and their lives were not chapters in your redemptive history. They were people turned to fuel for the American machine. Enslavement was not destined to end, and it is wrong to claim our present circumstance, no matter how improved, as the redemption for the lives of people who never asked for the posthumous, untouchable glory of dying for their children. Our triumphs can never compensate for this. Perhaps our triumphs are not even the point. Perhaps struggle is all we have because the God of history is an atheist and nothing about his world is meant to be. So you must wake up every morning knowing that no promise is unbreakable, least of all the promise of waking up at all. This is not despair. These are the preferences of the universe itself. Verbs over nouns, actions over states, struggle over hope. The birth of a better world is not ultimately up to you, though I know each day there are grown men and women who tell you otherwise. The world needs saving precisely because of the actions of these same men and women. I am not a cynic. I love you, and I love the world, and I love it more with every new inch I discover. But you are a black boy, and you must be responsible for your body in a way that other boys cannot know. Indeed, you must be responsible for the worst actions of other black bodies, which somehow will always be assigned to you. And you must be responsible for the bodies of the powerful. The policeman who cracks you with a nightstick will quickly find his excuse in your furtive movements. And this is not reducible to just you. The women around you must be responsible for their bodies in a way that you will never know. You have to make your peace with the chaos, but you cannot lie. You cannot forget how much they took from us and how they transfigured our very bodies into sugar, tobacco, cotton, and gold.
Don't that just make you want to read the whole book? Like, what? Very much talk your shit, sir. Right? Very, like, Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z, though, so don't get hurt. But yes, that stood out to me because it made me not look at slavery a different way, but, like, you know, the arguments of, like, we are not our ancestors conversation and how that has evolved. Like, I have a very, not unpopular opinion, but I'm more towards the unpopular opinion side of that conversation. But it just made me think, like, right, they didn't ask for that, so, like, it doesn't matter, you know? It just, like, you're talking about we should eat apples, we should eat oranges. I'm talking about I'm trying to bake a cake right now. Like, you know? I'm talking about she stole my cake from me. You talking about whether we should eat apples or oranges. Like, what? Because you were trying to think of, like, so now that we don't have cake, what should we eat? But, like, that's not, you know? Anyway, it just made me look at it differently. And just called back to my attention, like, wow, there were really generations, like centuries, where people knew nothing but chains. Like, all they knew was enslavement. Like, that, the mentality that had to develop, like, I see how it has evolved the way it has evolved. That's crazy. In that section, call it out to me. I feel like these are always long-winded, but, like, it's book club. It's supposed to be long-winded, right? We're supposed to have a conversation. Question number 2. How did the book make you feel? What emotions did it evoke? It has a certain, like, heaviness to it. Very, like, heavy is the heavy is the head that wears the crown. But it's like perspective. If you don't see it as heavy as the head that wears the crown, you can very much fall into the despair of it and get lost in that, which most people have. And that's what he calls attention to. but also very beautifully, since it's directly to his son and it's a conversation like to his son. I feel like that's why it was easier for him to spin it and like catch him, save him from, not save him from the despair, because you can't, but like let him know that there's another way to see it and show him what the other way to see it is. So yes, it was heavy, but it was beautiful. Like it very much gives you hope at the end. Like it takes you through all the despair, calls out the toxic mentality and how it has switched, how he represents the switching of mentalities while also witnessing a switch. Now trying to coach his son through the switch. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story to follow. Even if, aside from all the Black history, even though you should absolutely read it and further paint the picture that you thought you already had. Yeah? But even it's just a beautiful story either way. And I love a good story. Question number 3. Have any of your personal views Have any of your personal views changed because of this book? If so, how? Personal views changed? No, they haven't changed. It's just, like I said, it makes me look at slavery a different way. Now I can trace the mentalities through. Or I have started to. Let me not act like you can. Like this is a book that you can unpack in one day. Because I'm not going to lie. It's March 3rd. March 3rd. I just finished the book a couple hours ago. Because I'm a procrastinator. Well, that's not what we're talking about. You know, my personal views didn't change. It helped me stand further in the beliefs I already have, while giving me a new perspective at the same time. Question 4. What was your favorite chapter? I'm pretty sure it says NY, but I can't see it. But again, it's just the book is only in 3 long chapters. So I don't really have a favorite chapter, but I do have a second favorite like section / excerpt. The section's short though, so don't worry. If you have your books, open to page 131, starting at the paragraph that says, Michael Brown did not die as so many of his defenders supposed. Here we go.
Michael Brown did not die as so many of his defenders supposed. And still the questions behind the questions are never asked. Should assaulting an officer of the state be a capital offense rendered without trial, with the officer as judge and executioner? Is that what we wish civilization to be? And all the time the dreamers are pillaging Ferguson for municipal governance, and they are torturing Muslims, and their drones are bombing wedding parties by accident, and the dreamers are quoting Martin Luther King and exalting nonviolence for the weak and the biggest guns for the strong. Each time a police officer engages us, death, injury, maiming is possible. It is not enough to say that this is true of anyone or more true of criminals. The moment the officers began their pursuit of Prince Jones, his life was in danger. The dreamers accept this as the cost of doing business, accept our bodies as currency because it is their tradition. As slaves, we were this country's first windfall, the down payment on its freedom. After the ruin and liberation of the Civil War came redemption for the unrepentant South and reunion, and our bodies became this country's second mortgage. In the New Deal, we were their guest room, their finished basement. And today, with a sprawling prison system, which has turned the warehousing of black bodies into a jobs program for dreamers and a lucrative investment for dreamers, today, when 8% of the world's prisoners are black men, our bodies have refinanced the dream of being white. Black life is cheap, but in America, black bodies are a natural resource of incomparable value.
Ain't that crazy? I was like, wow, they really legit do have the same system in place, just through the prison systems now. That's fucking crazy. Like, and it's like I knew that, but I didn't see it that way. I didn't have to. I wasn't forced to. Versus like his generation, whose parents were very strict on that because their parents witnessed and were part of it, you know? Which, don't get me wrong, my grandmother witnessed and was part of it, but like, I'm at the later end of those people, you know? I'm a 99 baby, you know? I'm a late 90s baby. But I still witnessed and experienced and had to grow through all those same mentalities. So yes, that's my other favorite section. That was crazy to me. I was like, wow, it really is tradition for the white folks of America to kill black folk. It's really crazy. And it continues. Wow, it's really crazy that we legit were the down payment for America's freedom. Like, speaking of which, not off the record, but like off the record, there's another like Black history related book that is gonna be part of book club. I'm gonna tell you right now. Hold on. Handy dandy notes. Yes, Robert Hayden's Middle Passage. That's on the list. I don't remember where / oh no, because this book, Middle Passage. I think it like tells the stories of the Middle Passage. Yeah, couldn't read that for sure. But anyway, see how I'm long-winded? Final question. We're almost done. Question number 5. Was the book satisfying to read? Why or why not? Absolutely, it was very satisfying to read. It was very satisfying to read because it's the first time that I have seen a black person of a certain age gap or of a certain experience, of a certain mentality, acknowledge the wrongs of the mentality, of the values and the way that their parents raised them. Who can somebody acknowledge the wrongs of that, but also take accountability for how they have adapted that, and be able to step aside from that and say, this is what I don't want for you, this is what I do want for you, here's the choice, like, for you. Not that doesn't happen a lot, and he feels like he started late, which is crazy. So it's like, yeah, I like that. That's why it's a beautiful wrap up at the end. Like, wow, you can acknowledge the wrongs in it, not make excuses for that. That's important. Take accountability for how you have adopted it, and acknowledge ways to change it and be better in the future. Come on, growth. We love that. On top of also the awareness of how our generation experiences the same things but so differently, and still like putting that parent fear aside and letting your child have the choice to, like, here's the scenario, handle it how you're gonna handle it, but here's how you should handle it. You know? I think that's so cool. Very satisfying to read. If you know any other books that give off that, let me know, because it'll just make me feel good. But yeah, that's the end, because clearly, if you can't tell, I'm a talker. The first Friday of April, we will be talking about Letters to a Young Poet. Raina Maria, what? Raina Maria, what? Rainer Maria Wilkie. This is what we're talking about next month. Book club. Let's put the bookmark in the new book, because we are done with this one. Add her to the shelf. This is our new book. I'm not just going to put it in the front. We're going to put it on the first page. Okay. So yes, that's what we're reading next month. If you made it to the end of the video and you don't know me, hi. My name is Naori. Stick around. We love it here. Duh. Embrace being a star. Subscribe. Follow on my socials. I'm on Twitter every day. Snapchat, sometimes. Instagram, I'm not on right now. But when I come back, I'm coming back with a vengeance. So follow me anyway. I am recording High Happenings tomorrow. You don't know what that is right now, but you will. Only if you stick around. It's this cool little challenge I'm doing. Stick around to find out. Okay, bye. Accountability and consistency. I'd rather be smoking weed.